So, welcome to Finding Your Motivation with yours truly, Steve Stazak. Show is sponsored by Leader Speakers. So, Leader Speakers is a public speaking, public speaking and presentation skills and communications company that not only helps people get over their fear, because 74% of people out there do have public speaking fear, according to the University of Arizona. How about that? And so, once again, I not only help people get over their fear and trepidation in public speaking, but help them be more effective, which is another dimension. I mean, if you can get up and speak in front of people, but then you've got to be able to persuade them, and that's what you're up there to do. In any case, I showcase special guests on my show each and every week, and most of them are coaches and people in the mindset business because I don't want to sound cliche. I mean, that is a big thing these days, but people hadn't done this in the past. And I guess they were running around with chickens, like chickens with their heads cut off, didn't really know, where to go, what to do. And they were just sort of winging things. But now we have people to guide them, bring out some of their successes and get rid of the mental blocks and all that wonderful stuff. Tonight, I've got Carly Peppin. Now, she's from Los Angeles. She is okay. She specializes on human behavior, and she also obviously speaks. Do you have books too?
No books, not quite yet.
I don't either. I'm like, when I get up to speak in front of people, I go, "Hey, I'm Steve Stazak. By the way, I don't have a book." In any case, I'm going to let Carly tell you a little bit about herself, and then I'm going to dovetail in and interview her appropriately.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Steve. And so basically, I work with individuals. They come to me when they want to create a life, a business that's more authentically aligned with the things that inspire them most. Generally speaking, when we're disconnected from that, we'll feel some stagnancy. We'll feel like we're procrastinating, not able to get what we want to achieve done. And we'll feel disconnected from ourselves and like we're enjoying kind of the parts of our business or life that we're really striving to create more in, right? So they'll come to me to help them shift their mindset around those dynamics.
So that was interesting what you said because I never heard it put like you put it. A lot of the procrastination comes from as a result of people getting stuck instead of just being procrastinators. Now there are a lot of procrastinators out there.
Yeah.
Just as a matter of fact, I have a quote that I've registered, and I use it to post on LinkedIn. Procrastination has no destination.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's true because when we procrastinate, we're stuck, we're stagnant, we're not doing anything,
Yeah.
right? But the interesting thing is a mindset component. There's a couple different dynamics when we think about procrastination. The fun one, which is a real quality self-reflection, talk about personal development, is you might be procrastinating because you don't actually want to do it. You don't want to do it because it's
Right.
not aligned with something that's important to you. So actually, it's funny, if you look at the rest of my office right now, you'll see there's a ton of boxes over there that there's some books for me to unpack that have been sitting there for quite
Oh,
some time.
oh,
And there's like boxes of books like right behind my computer, and I'm procrastinating on it. And not because I'm a procrastinator, but because I've spent my day, I want to be on this podcast. I had client calls. I have more important things that I prioritize over that in my business and my life in general than unpacking those boxes. So if I label myself as a procrastinator, I'll beat myself up. But truth is, I just prioritize what's important to me.
exactly. I was just getting
Mhm.
ready to say that. I used to teach time
Yeah.
management,
Ah, perfect.
and believe it or not, people don't think that's a useful tool, but I'm pretty good at it. I actually one of the first time management seminars I had was for social workers. Social workers are the most taxed people in any industry.
Hmm.
It's amazing what they have to do.
Hmm.
7 till 7 at 6 till 7 at night or whatever, and then they've got families and everything else. But go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, time management. What's interesting as well is you won't procrastinate on things when we talk about time management. It's a huge aspect of ensuring that you feel fulfilled every day. Because if you make a to-do list and it's full of all the things that you think you have to do, you should do, you're supposed to do, you're not going to do any of them because it's not important to you. But if it had all the things that you would love to do and that you're inspired to do, I guarantee you'll tick them off one by one and you'll focus on it. And that's
Right.
part of time management too, is not just prioritizing your day in a way where I'm just gonna like crank out all the stuff I don't want to do. It's also putting on the things that you're meant to do and you're destined to do. And this isn't to say like we
Yeah.
only do everything we want. There's some things that we're
No,
gonna
no,
do
yeah.
it's required. But at the same time, like as a business owner and as an entrepreneur, when you scale up and you scale your business up, you start to delegate the stuff that you don't love. And the more that you get to delegate, the more at the top, you just get to focus on the things that are inspiring to you. You just get to wake up and do your favorite job on the planet.
Well, I wish I had people to delegate it to, but
Yeah. Next steps.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, you are, let's see, human behavior. Are we talking about human behavior now, or do you want to get more specific?
We can talk about human behavior now as well and get a little bit
Yeah.
more specific, but this is actually the dynamic of human behavior. What's so interesting is purpose is kind of talked about in like a really fluffy way, but if we get down to the brass tacks of it, right, it's the things that we prioritize daily and the things that are most important to us, the things that are most inspiring. And that links directly with our behaviors because we feel the most challenged, frustrated, angry when someone impacts that thing that's the highest priority to us or things.
Right.
Yeah, totally. And so our behavior and our emotions are actually in direct correlations with how supported or challenged our priorities and our life purposes. It's
Right.
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you get to start in this? You weren't always in this business, were you?
No, I wasn't actually. I used to be in the fashion industry. I worked for a still photographer. I was in the hospitality industry for a while, doing kind of back end manufacturing of uniforms and lots of fashion, lots of marketing and stuff. It was really cool. And I got into it because I woke up like every day for a certain period of my life and I felt really unfulfilled. Like that
Right.
was me. I help the people who I genuinely was, like just feeling unfulfilled, having success, having the finances, the house, the car, but feeling really disconnected from myself and like something was missing.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to do, but I thought moving to another country would be helpful. So I moved to Australia, which seemed kind of
Oh, great
extreme.
country.
Yeah, it was
I would go
amazing
there
out
in a
there.
snap.
Oh my gosh, it's so amazing out there. I love it so much. And when I got there, what was phenomenal is I had thought Los Angeles was the crux of my issues. So I too blamed the city and judged it for what it was. But it
Right.
really wasn't Los Angeles. I got there and realized everything was coming from within. And that's when I found my first coach and we focused on living by priority. We focused on values and we were focusing on human behavior in that aspect, specifically finding out what my purpose was. And the cool thing, which was crazy to me, is I hired her for an eating disorder, and that's what she was focused on. And then it cleared up my anxiety, and then my eating disorder started to fade, and I just was like, give me more. Who did you learn from and how do I start to teach this stuff as well? So that's how I really got into it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, I never had a problem with eating, but so that's an interesting story. So tell me about give me a profile of the people you work with. Who do you work with? What in,
Yeah.
what type of professionals or what have you?
Yeah, business-wise, they have varying businesses, so it's all pretty different there, but it's generally an entrepreneur, a founder, like CEO, executives,
Really?
also, yes, as well, and also individuals who are wanting to become entrepreneurs. So I work a lot with those as well, people who are transitioning out of jobs and using their expertise to launch businesses and helping them get their businesses launched, move through the stressors that are preventing them from actually like getting the clients they want, the business they want, creating it in the way that's inspiring to them. And if they're feeling a little bit drained from it, also helping to move through that burnout, right? Because I know every business owner has had moments of burnout and that can really just, again,
Right
slow
here,
us.
yours truly.
Totally. So yeah, moving through the burnout so to like put the life back in you so you could bring the life back into your business. Because when we're owners, we are the business.
We know some people get in businesses for wrong reasons, for the wrong reasons. They get into business because it offers them a bunch of freedom. I was forced into going into my own business. I contracted with a couple of you know, leadership companies before to learn what I'm doing now. And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm only getting 20%. The first stint I went out, I did a team building event for the government. When I got, and I'm not kidding, 90% got to keep 90% of that because materials are nothing.
Mhm.
And I was like, "Eesh, I mean, really? And I I don't know, I never thought I would be, I don't know if I really want to call myself an entrepreneur, but I guess I am.
Absolutely. And I think the cool thing with entrepreneurship too is there is a misperception on it as well. Like people
Yeah.
sell the fantasy of, you get all this time, you do all this stuff and all that. That takes time. I
Yeah.
remember when I saw entrepreneurship, I got to see my dad build a business. I got to work with really smaller companies that, they were making good money. So I get to see how the owners were involved. And I just remember thinking at a certain point, I keep helping other people build businesses. Why am I not building my own? And I remember thinking, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to sacrifice the time and energy that they have, and I'll be working a lot more and harder than I am by just getting a paycheck month to month. And I thought, is it worth it? And I was like, it's worth it to me because I thought I can do this. I can learn how to do this. I grow it and I can move through those challenges and I'm willing to invest the time and energy to get it done. And so that's the thing with entrepreneurship. It's not just about the fluffy thing of you have more time. You have more time when you build the business
I have
and you
less
put in
time.
the time.
Are you
Yeah, you
kidding?
do have less time. Some days, like you can take the Monday or Tuesday off, but probably because we work Saturday or Sunday.
I do that. I do work on the weekend. I work on Saturday. Sunday, I like to keep that as a
Mhm.
day of rest.
Yeah.
I was raised Catholic, and I'm not saying that that did have an influence on me because it was just you just got that feeling, that essence of you just rest.
Hmm.
And so I do. I have that in me automatically on Sunday. It forces me to take a day of rest.
Yeah.
And if I have to do something on Saturday, I do it, from the week. But shoot, you got to work. Like I've got a t-shirt business, it's actually not. I don't print my own t-shirts. I use Printify, and I go through Etsy and eBay. But I've got some new. So I've got to revamp some of my images, and so you got to do that after hours because you can't do that during the day.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot that goes on. And I think, again, that's the thing too, is the reason why I also love to find businesses that align with things that are inspiring to you is because if I say, hey, like you might have 14, 16-hour days, multiple days in a row, like maybe you won't get a day off in a month, but if you're doing something you love, you
That's right.
genuinely don't feel like you're working and you don't need the vacation, you don't need the break. You go on a vacation and you think about it and you're like, I don't really want to take time off from my business. Like, yeah, how can I and I do this now. It's like, how can I incorporate my business when I'm traveling with my actual travel? Because I don't want to take that much time off. I genuinely love it. Like, I love it. So finding something that you love so much that even when you're tired, you're going to show up. Even when you're having an off day, you show up. And not only do you show up, but it energizes you. Like energy from within. When you're inspired, you don't need motivation. And it's funny because it kind of goes back to the procrastination component. We're just looping right back around, which I love, is that you don't need motivation when you're inspired from within because that inspiration gives you the energy. And the inspiration coming from focus on things that are high priority, high value, purposeful to you.
Now, how long have you been in the business?
Yeah, 12 years.
Oh, so right about the same time I was, 12 years ago, there were zero coaches out there as far as I know.
There were still,
There weren't many
well, in Los
out around
Angeles,
here.
we're flooded. Like we're so
We're
flooded.
flooded. It's ridiculous. People
In
are
LA,
popping
it
out of
was
the network.
fun.
I'm a speaker. I'm blah. I'm like, okay, all right.
Uh,
I mean, I've been doing it. I've been doing this public speaking training stuff. Well, I
uh,
actually started off with a seminar company. I started off as a sales trainer for a very short time, and then I sort of escalated my career, my path pretty fast. I worked for a seminar company for about a year, and then I worked for two leadership companies for maybe another couple of years or so, and then wham. But I took that.
yeah.
I was I was in sales for a long time, like you, and I loved sales, but I kept switching around to products, and I'm like, all right, something ain't getting it here.
Hmm.
There's something else I need to do. And anyway, here I am.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that's
There you
amazing.
are.
Yes, yes. But again, it's funny because when I came back to Los Angeles after Australia and I'd gotten like a certification to coach and stuff, we were flooded with coaches in LA, genuinely. But the beautiful thing is if you're again, if you're just dedicated to what you do, it doesn't matter how much is in the market. It's how are you going to stand out in the market through the product and service and genuine transformations you provide. And I find that the best businesses provide the best services and the best value. And then your work speaks for itself. So no matter what anyone's creating or thinking about creating, it's like, what is the product or service that not only I'm inspired by, but will fulfill needs for people? That one's huge. And then, even if there's other people, how do you differentiate yourself in the market and stick with it? Yeah, a lot of people just don't stick with it. I saw a lot of coaches who just sort of gave up after a few years, and it was funny because I was like, some of it I just got past them just by time, just putting in the time. And then
Right.
other ones, it was like, okay, cool. Well, differentiation, value added. Like, what
Right.
does it actually look like? And we think about that in every area of business, no matter what product or service you're looking to create.
So were you born and raised in California?
I was,
O-
yes. I'm a SoCal girl. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm actually a Valley girl, which is why you hear me say like quite frequently. And if anyone ever knows that Frank Zappa Valley Girl song and listen to it, and you'll say, that's her accent. She's a Valley girl.
I used to listen to Frank Zappa all the time. I just forgot all about him until you brought him back up.
Yeah.
So when I was doing my sales training, when I took my little foray into this, the path that I went, I was a sales trainer for Husqvarna, where I do these um whatever you call it, sales training for large groups. So it was almost like speaking. And my area, I started off in basically New Mexico, went all the way up California, back down through Arizona. I spent 3 solid months out west.
Mm,
So I got a big dose of California. I saw
yeah.
every single, well, not every single city, most cities in California.
Yeah. I
And
love it here.
what people don't realize? Once you
Mhm.
get above San Francisco, there is nothing but woods.
Yeah. It's a lot. Yeah.
I mean, I was like, oh, I better get gas here because I don't know when I'm going to see another station. And there wasn't one for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
It's a beautiful spot though. If you love nature and you love road trips, that is a gorgeous place to drive. Absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I had no choice. And
Yeah.
Washington and Idaho, Idaho. Now that was interesting.
Hmm.
There's nothing in Idaho.
Yeah. Haven't been yet. Haven't been quite yet. Hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of mountains, a lot of open land in Montana. Yeah, I did that. Oh, I contracted with a stem cell company a few years back just to um, supplement my business, and I was a speaker for a stem cell company.
Hmm.
And one of the places we had a clinic was in Montana. That's an interesting state.
Yeah. Haven't been there yet either.
Oh my
Yes.
God, you're out that way? Yeah,
Uh,
man. Yeah, you need to try. You need to check out those two states.
definitely.
Okay. So, the clients, tell me, just give me an instant. We're winding down here. We've had a good show. I've got a whole bunch of things running around in my head here, but what do most people want as far as the coaching? I know you went over the procrastination, but give me an example of
Yeah.
what you got to have a core of what somebody actually wants to get going.
Yeah. Well, and do you mean for me as a coach or for coaches in general?
No, for you. Oh, I
Oh,
don't
for
care
me as
about.
a coach, the core of what someone wants is they want to get to the other side of what the challenges they're experiencing today. And sometimes it's something that's very present. Like, I have people who, theft in their business, some loss of finances, challenges in their relationship that impact their day to day. So they're having a hard time focusing, or there's stuff from the past that is just still ruminating within and they feel the heaviness and things that are
Get where they
basically,
are. I don't
yeah,
think they get where they are. Excuse me.
yeah, they're keeping them stuck. So there's a certain level of reflection they have to understand that there's things going on internally that are stressing them out, and they just don't want that on their shoulder anymore. They want the weight gone. They want relief. Yeah.
And how do you get rid of how do you get them relief?
Yeah, so this is where the mindset component is in shifting perceptions, right? So when we think about our perceptions, if we have perceptions of things in life that are all bad, right? So if you think of something that's completely bad, completely negative in your perception, completely wrong. If I
Right,
talk to you about it, your nervous system will fire up. You'll feel stressed about it. So
right,
depending on what you're going through, for example, like I was actually just working with a client who had had some money stolen from them from an employee, right? And so if they're only seeing the bad, they're very stressed out, they're very angry, they're very frustrated. So we go through and we actually see how this challenge served them. And when we got to see how the challenge served them, we got to see how it really fired up the leader within and is helping them long term in their business and their vision. And now when I say, well, how do you feel about it now? Like, do you feel angry, frustrated? They're like, no, 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 I'm actually grateful. Right. I'm grateful that it occurred. And that's the shift in the perception. There's another really important shift in perception that we don't often focus on very much. It's not talked about to the same degree, but it's when we have too many positives. So when we have too many positives, we look at something as all good and it doesn't let us be prepared for reality.
right,
Yes. So,
right.
yeah, if something's all good and all beneficial, you become gullible, you become over trusting,
That's
right?
right.
Or you put yourself so high on a pedestal that you've moved beyond just a normal level of pride for your accomplishments, but you're so puffed up that like people just look at you like, whoa, that guy's like pretty, they'll call you narcissistic in those states. But this is just a level of inflation. Like you have too many positives on yourself. So part of it as well is actually balancing out the equation and bringing you back to neutrality on the inside so that we humble ourselves before the outside world does, and it helps you to be
Yeah,
prepared and less
I
gullible.
agree.
Yeah.
So I think there's a line, and I'm not saying it's not a fine line, but there's a line between being confident and esteemed and being a narcissist. Narcissist is a self-promoter and a lot of other gobbledygook in there. So a lot of some people confuse confident people with people with high self-esteem. I've taken tests before, and they said, "Well, you tend to be a little narcissistic," and I'm like, "No,
Well, and this is interesting too. We all have a narcissistic side and we all have an altruistic side, and both in balance. This is where the neutrality comes in again. Both in a neutral state are purposeful. Because if I'm too altruistic, I'll never charge for my services. And how am I going to put a roof over my head? But if
right,
I'm too narcissistic, I'm going to overcharge you. My clients are going to be frustrated. They're going to resent me. And then I don't have a business. But if I can find a balance between it, instead of being too narcissistic, balance it to agree where it's like, well, I'm just charging my value. I have that level of certainty, but I also want to give some quality information. Like even being on a podcast is giving quality information to connect with individuals, right? And so this could be considered part of the altruism. But then if you get on the phone with me, I don't work for free. That's part of my narcissism. But it's a
right."
beautiful, like if I don't let it get out of control, then
Well,
I'm,
that's just
yeah.
self-respect. I mean, you're not going to give something away. That's ridiculous.
Well, that's when we get too altruistic, where you see some people giving away excessive quantities of things, time, money, energy, because they have usually a level of guilt or shame for something that they've done. So they feel they owe someone something or the world something. Yep. Too
Um,
much guilt and shame will make you overly altruistic and give too much away. Yep.
yeah, I'm not guilty of that. I mean,
Yep.
I charge accordingly. Like when I first started in my business, I had a matrix that I used from one of the other companies, but I thought to myself, you sort of have to learn the ropes and define your value.
Hmm.
I'm not going to give it away. And you want to find a, you want to find, you want to, your product has to have value. And if you don't charge accordingly, when I first started out, and I really wanted business, I lowered some prices and I thought, no, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's important as well as understanding the value in the marketplace and also the personal value you're providing. And this is like mostly it happens with like coaching, right? There are certain products in the marketplace that it's pretty established, like the pricing as well. But then every now and then, you have an art piece or something, and then all of a sudden that bumps it up pretty high.
Right.
So it really depends on who you are. I mean, Tony Robbins, I know he charges $1 million for an hour, right? That's his price. Yeah, that's his one-on-one coaching price. And there are people who pay it. And is like, is that right or wrong? That's his personal value based off of his personal income, his expertise. And remember too, that's actually how much probably his hour is worth. So you're paying for his time and how much his time is genuinely worth. So
Now,
it depends on how you calculate it. But if you're out of fair exchange, this is the fun part. When you get out of fair exchange in a coaching practice, if you're charging too much, you're going to go overtime because you feel like you haven't given them enough. And if you charge too little, you're going to resent them every time you get on the phone. So it's really making sure you're in fair exchange with what value you provide, and then the client pays, and then you just go through your hour, 2 hours, whatever you book, and you're good to go.
yeah, so the problem, and I've been to a lot of these seminars, not any Tony Robbins, but there's some other folks out there. What I have a problem with, they promote their big deals. When you go to their conferences, everybody but Tony Robbins shows up. He might appear at the end and that's it.
Hmm.
Grant Cardone is famous for that. I went to one of
Hmm.
his gigs. He didn't even show up.
Hmm.
He had other
Wow.
people, yeah. And I'm like, he got on the big telecom thing there for a few minutes, but I was like, yeah,
Hmm.
Have you ever heard of JT Fox?
I believe so. Yeah, I haven't been to any of those workshops quite yet, and I feel like I've heard of JT Fox before, but I haven't been to anything, obviously.
He's actually pretty good. Supposedly he's the number one business coach in the country. So he
Oh,
says.
nice. Well, yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of amazing business coaches as well.
But yeah, I
Yes.
don't, Tony Robbins is good, and I liked his early stuff when he was just starting out because the guy is brilliant, but he's not worth $1 million an hour.
I don't think
Sorry.
I'd pay $1 million an hour. I'm not sure I'd charge $1 million an hour either.
Whatever, yeah. I mean,
But again, that's his personal perceived value, and he
yeah.
makes it, and yeah. So it's kind of like also as long as you're in fair exchange, but it's checking in on like what that means to you, right? It really is checking in on what that means to you. Because again, if you charge too much, you're going to keep going overtime. I did this in the beginning. Someone had taught me the sales technique that's like really amazing at closing clients, and I
What
actually
is
have
it? I'd like to hear.
uh, I don't remember because it was a friend of mine who gave me some info, but basically after that, I actually never used it again. I landed a client at some of my highest rates I've ever charged, and I didn't perceive I was worth it. So I could make the sale, and I just got great at sales, but I didn't have that internal value at the time. So a 1 hour session would go for 3 to 4 hours, and I learned my lesson. That was it. After that, I got on a sales call. I do it my way. I charged what I knew I was like, I charged what I knew I wanted to charge, not what other people were telling me to charge. And then all of a sudden, I started to attract clients I was more aligned with. I would get on and off my phone calls in an hour. I felt like we were in fair exchange, and I felt more confident and certain in my practice. So that's the thing too, is a lot of people sell like the fantasy of big high ticket clients and this or that. And sure, you can get a high ticket client, but if you don't perceive that you're at that value level, you know, be a great coach and provide great value and provide a great service or product, and let that speak for you as opposed to being just a great salesperson or just great at marketing. Like I really learned my lesson in the beginning with that one.
And so just to wind
Mm.
this up, we're gonna need to wind down because we're over the 30-minute mark. But I how do you obtain your clients? How do you market yourself?
So right now it's mainly
Besides words of mouth.
yeah, it's repeat referrals, and then I come on podcasts, which I absolutely love. And yeah, it's mainly repeats, referrals. And then sometimes I'll go to events. I like going to personal development events. And if I meet people that I find that I resonate with, I'll see if there's a connection. And if there is, I pursue it from there. But a lot of it is repeat and referrals. And